Okay, we're working on practice exam 3 for Management 1400 and the MOS Excel certification exam. Make sure that you have downloaded the Excel practice exam 3 file and the text file sound equipment. And then remember where you've downloaded the sound equipment file to, because that's the first thing that we're going to be doing. So right here on the import tab, import the data from the sound equipment, delimited text file into a table. Use the first row of the data sources headers and choose existing worksheet. And it's cell A1. So we want to be here in this existing worksheet. If we're not here, we go to the data tab. From the data tab, we click from text CSV file. That gives us our pop-up here. We look at where we brought this in. So I downloaded it. It's in my downloads, sound equipment, import. And we look at this right here, and it's giving me column 1, 2, 3, 4 as my top columns, which is not what we want. So let's do transform data. And then use first row as headers. So there we have our first row as headers right up here. Okay. And then we don't want to just load it right now. We want to click on this close and load drop down and close and load to. And we want it on a table. We wanted an existing worksheet and click OK. And there it's brought in our data. And then we can just X out on queries and connections. And we have just finished worksheet number 1, importing data. On to our second worksheet, which is our class enrollment worksheet. And if you notice in all of these worksheets, we have the instructions, what we need to do. So it says convert the data from A3 to G12 into a table that has headers in the first row, and then rename the header in A3 courses. So let's go from A3 right here to G12, and that's insert, and then right under the insert is insert table. And then where is your table data? My table has headers is checked. We click OK. And now notice here it says column 1. We don't want it to say column 1 anymore. We want this to say courses. Next one is name the table student enrollments. So go ahead and click anywhere on the table if we're off of it. If we haven't already, go into table design and then over here on table name. Now we don't name tables in our name box, and we name it here in table name. So right here, table name, we rename this one student enrollments. So make sure on your Excel exam when they ask you to name a table, you're going into table design. It says now number 3, insert a sparkline, a column sparkline to compare the student numbers from 2018 to 2023, then autofill the sparkline and down to H12. So in a sparkline here, you put your cursor where you want it to start. So we'll start in H4. We'll go insert, and we're going to use sparklines, and we're going to choose column. It asks for a column sparkline. It asks us for our data range, and we can just highlight 2018 to 2023, B4 to G4, click OK. Now on sparklines, you can't double click to fill down, you actually have to drag it down. So that's how you would autofill on the sparklines. Step number 4 is apply the dark green sparkline style accent 6 darker 25 to the column sparklines. So in this case, we actually have to highlight this column H. We'll highlight it, go into sparkline, and in style, here's our style guide. We can click the drop down, and it's asking us for dark green, so we can look at the green. We can see this is dark green style, accent 6, darker 50. We want darker 25. And so we just click. So we can see we have blue, then orange and gray and those, and just click on this. And so now we have this green. Okay. Step number 5 is in this one is insert a table column to the right of the 2023 column and rename the column as enrollment. So here is our column right here. It's asking us to insert a table column to the right of the 2023. Okay. So just click on this anywhere on column G, the right of 23, right click, choose insert, and it's table columns to the left or table column to the right. We're going to choose table column to the right. So now we have this new column, and we want to rename this one. It automatically chose 2024, but it says to rename this one to enrollments. So we're going to name this column enrollments. And then it says to adjust the width to see the complete name, because we see the drop down right there. We want to see the complete name, okay, on there. And in cell H4, now we're in cell H4, create an appropriate formula that checks the student numbers from 2018 to 2023 and displays excellent if the total exceeds 2,000. Otherwise, the cell should be left blank. So we see that this is an if function. So equals if, and I always click on this. Now, to help on your exam, come over here and click this insert function button, especially if you're using an if function. And it's asking us for our logical test. And our logical test is listed here. Okay, it says check the student numbers from 2018 to 2023 and display excellent if the total exceeds 2,000. So we have to add up all of these numbers from 2018 to 2023, and if that's greater than 2,000, we have it say excellent. If not, we leave it blank. So our logical test is actually a sum. So it's sum, and then we're summing 2018 to 2023. Okay. And now we have to close that. And then if that's greater than 2,000, now notice it says false over here, which is what we want because that enrollment isn't greater than 2,000. If I go back to 200, you'll see 200 is true, but it's 2,000. Don't get confused that if this says false, that this logical test is incorrect. Okay, if it says true or false, that's what we kind of want it to say in this case. And then if the value is true, we want it to say excellent. And remember to put quotes on it. So now we have it here saying excellent. And if it's false, we don't want it to say anything, which is double quotes. And now go ahead and click OK. And you can see right here that it filled this in for us and that we have 4 courses that have excellent enrollment according to our standards. And now we have completed the class enrollment exercise. Now let's move on to our next tab, our country tab. Go ahead and click on our country tab there, and let's look at our instructions. It says create a clustered column chart showing the country and the size in square miles of each country. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and highlight our column A, country. Now for this, we need to hold down the control button. And the reason why is our data is not continuous, it's not next to each other. If our data was right here, if this is what it was asking for, was this, we could just highlight both of these and drag down and do our insert our chart. But in this case, because the data is not continuous, we'll highlight column A, press and hold our control button, and then highlight column C. Okay. And now it says to create a clustered column chart. showing the country and size. So we go to Insert, and our first one right here is our clustered column chart. And we see that right here. Okay. And now I'm just going to move my instructions over. And we have our chart right here. Okay. Now, step number 2 of this is apply the style 7 chart style and the monochromatic palette 6 color to the chart. And it's not going to be a big change, so you're not going to see a huge difference. But what it's asking us to do again is apply style 7. So we click on the chart and we do chart design, and we have two differences here. We have our chart styles and we have our quick layout. Please don't confuse layout with style. The question will ask you if you want a layout, which we'll do here in a minute. There's layout, here's styles, and here's colors. So the first part of this question is apply style 7. So we can click the drop down here, and they're in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it will say style 7 in the pop-up. So we click on style 7, and you didn't see a big change on it. And the next is also monochromatic palette 6, and that's our colors. And monochromatic means it's the same color. Colorful is these are all different colors. Monochromatic is the same color, and we could just go down and find number 6, which is this green, and we just click on that. Okay. Next is apply the heading 2 style to cell ranges A1 to C1. So we can click off of our chart, and we come over here, and this wanting right there for us to apply the heading 2 style to these cells in A1 to C1. So in here, we just go ahead and highlight those. If we're not there, we click on the home button, and we have our styles right here. So besides having styles for your chart, you can do styles for just regular text or cells. And this is cell styles, and is asking us to apply heading style 2. So we have our normal stuff, data model, tiles and headings is heading 2. So we just click on that, and we're good. Now it says change the chart layout for the chart to layout 3. So we click on the chart, go to chart design, quick layout, and they want layout number 3. Again, we can look at it 1, 2, 3. So we now have our layout in style number 3. Now it says display the primary vertical axis title as size. So right here we don't have the vertical axis title, so we got to add the vertical axis title. And there's two ways to do that. We can click this button right here, and we can click axis titles and primary vertical. Okay. Or we can do chart design, add chart element, and do the same thing. Now while we're here, you can see that I have my 4 blue dots around the axis title, so that shows us what we're working on. I can just go up here to the function bar, the formula bar, and I'm just going to type in size, enter, and it changed this here. So it's easier to do that up here than it is to type and look at this doing sideways. And we'll just click off because we're completed with that. Now it says move the chart to a new worksheet named size. So click on our chart. We're in chart design, move chart, and it wants to a new worksheet called size. And so we're going to rename that and click OK. And now we're on a new sheet. You can see down here we have a new sheet called size. And the last thing it asks us to do is add the alternative text for accessibility, chart displaying square miles of different countries. So we can click on our chart. If we haven't, go into Format now at the top. And alternative text is right under the Format button for accessibility. We click on that. And this is if somebody is visually impaired, they can scroll over the chart and it will tell them what the chart is trying to display. And we're going to type in chart displaying square miles of different countries. Now on your exam, it will tell you exactly what to put in there, and a lot of times you can just copy what the text is telling you to put in and click and paste. Now there isn't an enter button or anything you do at this point. You just click off of there, and then you can click the X button, X, and close out of this, and we have completed our country worksheet. Now let's go to our country worksheet. Oh, sorry, we're already there. Our names list worksheet. Click on names list, and we have our instructions here. So it says in cell E2, create a formula that will automatically convert the contents of the last name to uppercase, autofill for all of the other last names. So right here in E2, we come to E2, and if we remember, our formula is equals upper, and it's asking us what text we want, and it's asking for our last name, so that's A2, enter, and then we can autofill down by double clicking. And then let's increase the size of that. Okay, and so we can do that right here by double clicking. It says add now, step 2 is adjust the width of column D to exactly 12. So we can come in here and click on column D with our little down arrow. If we're not in the home screen, we click on home. We come over here to cells, format, and we want our column width, and they said exactly 12, and click OK. Now name this cell, so we're naming a range from D2 to D15 phone numbers. So right where we're at, but now we go from D2 to D15, and we're going to name this range phone numbers. Now this is a little bit different than naming a table. We can actually either go into formulas and click define name, or the easiest way is right here in our name box. While we've got this highlighted, we can just type in phone numbers, phone and underscore numbers. And make sure that you use the underscore when naming things, and also that we spell it exactly as it shows. Now it says configure column A to automatically wrap the text. So we can see here that we have text that's going off of the column, off of the row. So click on column A, go into the home, and just wrap text. And so we see that we have this text wrap right here. Next is in cell F2, use a function to create an email address using the first name together with the text at myexcelfile.org, then autofill the cell range F3 to F15. So right now here we go into F3, and if we remember, the formula is concat, so that's bringing things together, so equal concat is asking what our text is. And so right here is we want to use the first name, comma, because now it's text2, and our text2 is at myexcelfile.org. And make sure if you're copying and pasting that you make sure that you have the quotes in there. Okay, in this case you need the quotes because the quotes is telling Excel that that's the text you want, and again there's no space. And go ahead and click enter, and so we have David at myexcelfile.org, and it asks us to copy down. In this case we can just double click right there, and now double click between the F and the G so that it's all on one column. And then the last thing in here is change the horizontal alignment of the last name data to left align set to indent 2. So change the horizontal of the last name data. So here's our last name column right here, and it says change the horizontal alignment. So in here, if we're in our home screen, we have our alignment. We do this drop down right here, and we have our alignment horizontal, and it's asking us to left indent, and then indent is 2, and click OK. And we can see that this is indented a little bit, and I just want to do that so Whitman Freeman is on a single line. Well, it's on a wrapped text, but you can read the last name, then the dash, then the last name. All right, we have completed our names list. Onto our call center tab. So go ahead and click on our call center tab, and let's bring up our instructions. And notice I have two different structured ranges here, and you'll see why in a minute, because we're going to play with these differently or work with them differently. So instruction number 1 is convert the cell range A3 to E15 to a table named calls received. So A3 to E15, we're converting this structured range or this range into a table. So insert table, and it's asking us A3 to E15, and click OK. And now we have this table right here. It says name the table call received. So while we're in here on table design, our table name is we're going to name this table calls underscore received. Okay. Enter. Now it asks us to filter the table to display only the data where service requests are greater than 3,000 and less than 5. So on a service request, we click the drop down. We go here to number filters, and we choose between. And when we choose between, we've got this pop-up, is greater than or equal to. We didn't ask for greater than or equal to, is greater than 3,000 and less than 5,000. And click OK. And it looks like it had a little glitch on my recording software. Now it's back to where it should be. So over there, we now have our table filtered, and we only have one between 4,000 and or 3,000 and 5,000. That's greater than 3,000 but less than 5,000. Now it says create a new table using cell range A18 to E, and we can see that when we did this, it affected my data right there. So I'm just going to drag that down to bring back the instructions. And now it says create a new table using cell range A18 to E30. So there's a new one, insert table, and that's what we have right here. Now it says on the new table, sort the data in the table by complaints in descending order. Okay, so right here we can just click on our table anywhere, go into our data tab, go to sort, and it brings it up. We want to sort our column by complaints in descending order, which means largest to smallest. Ascending is smallest to largest, descending is largest to smallest, and click OK. And we can see January had the most complaints, then April, September, and July had the least. Now apply a total roll to the table, which shows the average number of complaints per month. So go ahead and click on the table. And this we haven't done where we've converted a total row to average, but click on the table, go to table design, and go ahead and add our total row. Now when we're down here, click on our 181, and you see this little drop down that we have right here. That allows us to change from sum to min, max, or count, and we're going to do average. And we see that our average complaints per month has been 15. Now the last step on that is use conditional formatting to apply a yellow fill, dark yellow text to any cell in the service request column. So here's the service request column where the service request exceeds 4,500. So we're just going to highlight that, go into our home button here, conditional formatting, highlight cells row, and this is greater than 4,500. So greater than, and we're going to choose 4,500. And you see that it's turning these red because it's already got this text in here, light red with dark red text, but we're asking for yellow fill with dark yellow text. And click OK. And now we can see very clearly the ones that where we had service requests of more than 4,500 100 in a month. And we've just completed the call center worksheet. So now let's move on to cruise destinations. Go ahead and click on cruise destinations. And right now in our instructions here, it says merge and center the cell range A1 to G1. So let's go up here to A1 to G1. And merge and center is on our home screen, and merge and center. That's what it says. Now it says delete cells G2 and G3 and correct the alignment to align the headings and data properly. So let's go to G1 or G2 and G3, highlight those. Go ahead and click delete, and it's going to ask us what we want to do. We want the cells underneath it to shift up, not left. We want it to come up, and go ahead and click OK. And then we can look at the alignment here. So all these are center aligned. We're going to right align them. We'll take our location one and we'll left align it. And you may or may not ask to have that done on the exam. Okay. In step number 3, create a formula in cell I2. So in I2, create a formula in cell I2 that will automatically count the number of cells in the range C3 to G13 with no data. Now we haven't named that range, and we're not going to right now because I want to show you this. It's equals, if we remember, if we want to count things with no data in it, it's count blank. So we want to count blank, and it's asking us for our range, and we can actually just start in C3 and go all the way over to G13. Okay. It doesn't have to be on a row or a column. It can be a complete range when we're counting. And click enter, and it's 18. Now in cell L3, so L3 right here, multiply the value in F3. So we look at F3, okay, by the name range access increase. Make sure that you use the name range in the formula and then autofill to the other row. So it's asking us to multiply what's in F3 by this access fee to go to the port. So this is equals, and we can point right here to F3, and it's multiplied by, but instead of pointing to cell L2, it's asking us to use the name range, access range. So I can start typing in access increase, and so right there, access increase, and click enter. So we can see that there's an $80 fee roughly, maybe to go to that port, and it's asked us to fill down. In this case, we need to copy down, because if we click the fill button, there's nothing here to the left, so we need to drag it down. The last one is filter the data to show only information where the group A3 and the numbers are greater than 350. Okay, so filter the data, okay, to show that only the information where group A3 and the numbers are greater than 350. Notice this isn't at a table right now. So right now we're just going to click anywhere on this. We'll bring up this. We'll go to our data tab, and we're going to click on filters, and it brings in our filters. So I have something going on with my recording software. It won't allow the pop-ups to happen the way I want, but now go ahead and go to group, click that filter drop down, and it asks us to filter just the data starting with A3. So click on A3 and OK, and we filtered this data, and then it says to filter anything that's greater than 350. So greater than 350 would be these two. So that's an easy way to filter this. Now it asks us now to clear the filters applied in this task number 5. So we can just click on our filter button again. We can go to data and filter, and it will clear the filter. Now you'll need to do this in the exam, where it'll ask you to do something and then clear it out, but it records whether or not you do that. Now the last thing it says in cell N3, insert a win-loss spark line to compare inside cabin, balcony, and suite, and autofill the spark line to the other rows. So click here in our N3, and we're going to go to our insert button, and they're asking for a win-loss spark line. We click on that. It's asking for our data range, and this is our inside cabin, balcony, and suite is what it asked for. And click OK. And so we can see we lost money, we made money, and now to autofill, we just got to copy that down. And now we have completed task 6 in our cruise destinations tab. Now onto our forecasting tab. Go ahead and click on our forecasting tab. And looking at our instructions, it says in cell C3, create a formula that will compute the amount of income forecast for 2024 by multiplying the 2023 income by the growth forecast in cell F1. So we're going to take this data and multiply it by that. Okay. Autofill the results to cells C4 all the way down to C23. Do not use a named range. So go ahead and click on our data right there. Our function is just simply equals B3 times F1. Now, to autofill down, if I were to fill this down right now, it would move, it would mess up because the B3 would go down to B4, but F1 would go to F2, and it would not show that. And you should have worked with, and we talked about before, locking cells and things. So we would just click F4, and now we see we have the $sign in front of the F and the $sign in front of the 1, and we can click enter so that when we fill down now, it points. So if we look at this one here, our cell is B4 times F1, and then this one should be B5 times F1. So we can see that in what's going on. All right. Number 2 is convert the cell range A2 to C23 to a table. So it's asking us to take this, go from here to here, A2 to C23, and make it a table. And we've done this several times, so you can get very fast at this. Insert table, and it has headers. There we go. Okay. Now apply the green table style light 14 to the table, and it also asks us to name the table forecast. So while we're in this, we're going to go up here to table name and name this forecast. Enter. And now while we're on table design, it asks us for table styles. Okay. Apply the green table style. And my thing is messing up again. Let me see if I can do this. Hold on a minute. See if I can have me let that drop down anyway. There we go. And it's green table style light 14. Sorry about that, but you'll get the gist of this, and we'll re-record this at another date. Table style light, so we're in light, we're in green, and we want table style 14. All right, there we go. I'll recorrect this so it's easier to see. Sorry about that. Now it says insert a line chart that shows the customers on the x-axis and the 2023 income on the y-axis. So it's asking us to put in a line chart. And so we're going to highlight columns A and B, but because they're continuous, we don't need the control button. We'll just click insert, and it wants a line chart. So click on line chart, and here's our data right here, and we can always expand this data right there. Now it says include the data of the forecast sales increase within the chart. So the easiest way to do this, if we've clicked out, click on the chart, and right down here we have our little blue button. I'm just going to slide it to include 2014, and now we have the 2014, or sorry, the 2024 and the 2023 data. And now just, if we clicked off, just click anywhere on the chart, not the inside data. Make sure that it's just this outside data. And we're just going to format this with a shape outline, and we're just going to make it black. All right, we have completed number 3 of our practice exams. Sorry about the mistakes with some of the recording there, but hopefully we got this, and I'll re-record this. If you're in Management 1400, go ahead and save the file, upload it. If you're just doing this for MOS 200 certification, thank you for joining us.